Hello, hi, Jeffrey Ken, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival, Sarasota, with Behind the Masterpiece, a wonderful, wonderful idea from our friends at Visit Sarasota to talk to the folks around in our area that are creating magic every day. And there's no one better that I can say she creates magic every day than Carole Kleinberg of Sarasota Jewish Theatre. Hello, Carole.
Oh, my friend Jeffrey.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to the end of the season.
I know. Well, you've had so Sarasota Jewish Theatre. What season is this for you?
This is the season 5.
Season 5.
And our first season in the middle of the pandemic was on Zoom.
Yeah.
Jay Handelman said to me, "Why would you start a theater in the middle of a pandemic?"
And what did you say? And what did you reply?
I didn't know there was going to be a pandemic.
So this has been a dream of yours for many years, obviously, and your route to this point has been, let's see, a long and winding road, to quote a really great song.
Yeah, to put it mildly.
Yeah. What? So I have so many questions for you because I know you very well, and I'm very proud to call you a good friend. But our listeners are people from all over the country who are excited about Sarasota and our region when it comes to the arts. When did you come to Sarasota? When did that happen? And if I remember correctly, was that for the gig at the Oslo?
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of. Okay. Okay.
There's multiple answers to that.
Yes.
My great-grandfather came here in 1927, and they were just building Sarasota High on Tamiami Trail, and he wrote a letter home, and he said that this sleepy little village of 7,000 souls has a great future because they're building a brick high school.
Wow.
And
Permanence.
Yes, permanent.
Bricks and mortar.
Brick. So that was one.
So you'd come down here as a little Carole and frolic on the beach, and
I frolicked on the beach my whole life. My grandparents moved here full time in 1949 when I was years old.
Yeah.
And so they lived right on Lido. They moved to Lido in 1952. And my parents bought a house on Lido in 1957, about 4 doors away from grandparents. So I really have, and the beach back then there were big branches of driftwood, and I used to climb over the driftwood and lots of shells and lots of coquinas to pick up. The beach would just turn into silver. A wave would come in, it would go out, and all the coquinas would be, that piece of it is gone. But that was magic.
You have a viewpoint of our region way before it was an arts hub, but right. Really in a kind of a way got to see it grow because all of these major organizations, the Players, I think, is at 95, and then Oslo's at 60, 65, a lot of people are having a lot of many years of doing great art here. This is an interesting question I have to ask myself. So why do you think Sarasota needed a Jewish theater? Why Sarasota Jewish Theatre?
That's a big question.
I love it though, right? It's a good
where Sarasota Jewish Theatre really began was during the March on Charlottesville.
Okay.
When they were carrying torches and saying Jews will not replace us. And I was watching that, and I think it's the first time I ever didn't feel safe in America. And I really didn't feel safe. And then I thought about, well, what can I do to change things? What little thing can I do to change things? And I thought, well, this is what Sarasota is. This is a cultural hub, an arts hub. And this is what I am. I am an arts creator. I have been my whole life. And I'm Jewish. And we live in a town with lots of theater. And I watched all of these years. I was right there from the beginning with Nate for West Coast Black Theater.
Right.
And so, I mean, I was there at the first performance of West Coast Black Theater. And in the beginning, helping him trying to find a place where they can perform. And I watched his struggle, and I watched his journey, and I watched his growth. And I thought, in a town that can support a Black theater, a town that we have 38,000 Jewish households here.
Really?
Not people, households.
Right.
In Sarasota County and Manatee County.
Wow.
That town should be able to support a Jewish theater also.
And this is your vision coming to life.
Right. And so, but my vision required a bunch of friends coming in. We all sat down together and asked, well, what can we do and how do we do it? And the founding members of the theater are still with us. Carolyn, Michael and Howard Millman were part of that first. Lynn Burnfield, Carol Goff. There were a couple of people who didn't see it and kind of went by the wayside. Too bad for them.
Right.
But the people who stayed really, this is this theater is a collaborative effort.
Yep.
A sculptor can do it all by himself in the studio. A watercolor artist. Theater requires a lot of collaboration, and theater requires an audience. Otherwise, there's no point.
So, how did you become the best audience ever? When did the theater bug bite Carole Kleinberg?
Oh, that's another very long story. My grandmother, her name was Flo Hyman, and that's the grandmother that moved here in 49, and she was a musician. And in Chicago, she was Florian Ziegfeld's accompanist when he lived in Chicago.
Wow.
So, and she did musical arranging and musical director and musical accompanist for theater groups. I watched her do it my whole life. And that's what she did when she came down to Sarasota. She, for churches, for synagogues, for organizations, wherever they needed a musical director for their show, she did it.
Wow.
My mother was a band singer. She had at one point her own radio show in Chicago called Bee and Her Buddies.
Bee and Her Buddies. Okay.
Because her name was Bee. So she did a whole bunch of community theater. My sister is a professional actress, singer that has got a very successful career in LA. Television, film, cabaret, musical. She was the lead in the national touring company of Funny Girl.
I did not know that.
Yes. So
you've got this theater thing bad.
So it's kind of like, Mom started taking me to Goodman Theater in Chicago when I was very little.
Right.
And when she was in a show where they needed a kid, they stuck me in, and my sister, and so it was kind of what we were going to do. However, my father said when it came time to go to college, you have to be a teacher, a secretary, a librarian, or a nurse. That's your choices then.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be in theater. And he said, you're going to starve. He had two daughters and they both did the same thing. My dad didn't like theater. But he always came to our plays, probably because my mother made him. And he would come in and he would sit down, and the lights would come down in the house and the curtain would go up and the lights would come up on the stage, and he would politely excuse himself and go out to the lobby and find somebody to play gin rummy with. It didn't stick it out.
Wow.
So
wasn't his cup of tea, as they say.
No, but he supported it. I mean, I went to University of Illinois School for a theater degree. I went to UCLA, to their UCLA theater program for 2 summer theater workshops. And he sent me to graduate school, the University of Miami. I got the message. I went where it was warm. even though he didn't love theater, he supported financially and graciously my useless quest in his eye.
And then I love the fact that now us as adults are bringing up the next theater kids.
Yeah, right.
I mean, now my little theater kids from the Players are, in college and having kids and all that. So it's kind of wonderful how you're now giving back after years of receiving.
So we just had 2 kids in the show I just directed in Lost in Yonkers, 2 teens. It was a real hard search to find 2 teens because they're in every scene. They have to carry the show.
Yeah.
And I had friends who referred kids to me, and bless them. But I told my one friend, I said that the young man that we're sending back to you is not the same actor that you sent to us, because he worked on stage with professional equity actors, and he got a training. Both of them got a training that was a good short college course.
Yeah, and we know that we've spent years. I spent a year as an amoeba in a dark room learning how to be an amoeba. So yeah, that was what we did for love, right? Lord.
Somebody asked me the other day, do I remember, was there a memorable part in the theater at University of Illinois? And I have a friend here who's been my friend since I'm 14, and he's one of the few people in the world who saw what I did at the University of Illinois, because we were there together. My memorable part, because I was a chubby little girl, they gave me the maids and the grandmothers and the housekeepers and the secretaries, those things my father said I should be. I was on stage.
Right.
But the memorable role was in Aristophanes' The Birds. And I was in the chorus, and I got to do, don't laugh too hard, cuckoo-caroo, cuckoo-caroo. And he reminds me when he sees me, and I want to kill. Now everybody knows.
Everybody, cuckoo-caroo. Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. What's next for Sarasota Jewish Theatre? What do you have? I'm sure you have things brewing.
So I'm working on next season, and the next season. Oh, you'll be the first to know. I think next season is going to be first up. Remember this: The Lesson of Jan Karski, which is just brilliant. David Strathorn did it on Broadway, and then The Tale of the Allergist's Wife.
Oh wow!
And then I think we're going to re-up Cherry Docks, which was our first season on Zoom. I think maybe 40 people saw that, and it was really good. I've started a program called Be a Theater Maven, and we put in Friday afternoon matinees because we don't perform on the Sabbath. Who knew that Friday afternoon matinees would sell out?
No way.
Out. Crazy. But oh my. So on the first Friday morning, we do a 2-hour deep dive into the play, an hour of the play and the playwright, and then a half hour with the actors and the director, and a half hour with the tech team. And I write the study guide, and we had 8 people the first time, and we had 16 people the second time, and I'm looking forward to what we see. So I want to continue that. I just finished the Bad Jews study guide. That is a terrible title for a play.
I know.
It is.
We've talked about producing that for years now, you and I, because I thought about doing it at the theater for years. So I'm glad you are.
It's very funny, and it deals with really important issues. I was sitting through rehearsal the other day, and you sit there and you go, "Well, he's right, but she's right, but no, he's right," and that's it. It does that. It stimulates thinking, and it's funny.
So, Carole, can I safely say that all of us are a little right and a little wrong all the time? Maybe.
Yeah.
I get that sense. You know, by putting the best foot forward out there and always doing your best. And but then sometimes things change. And
okay, on the subject of things
oh
change.
yes.
So I have been talking to the playwright of Remember This for about 4 months. Email conversations. And we've had very positive conversations. And we did that on Zoom a couple of years ago. And there were probably 40 people who saw it, but it was hugely well received. And the Jan Karski Foundation saw it, said they were trepidatious about us doing it, and they were really impressed.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if trepidatious is a word or not.
I love it, though.
So we're going along with this, and I think we're going to be able to do it. But he emailed me the other day, and he said, we're under discussion. There may be a national tour, in which case. So I've got a couple backups.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
so people don't realize something that is very important to know is that theaters in town, there's a hierarchy. So there's levels and grades of professional theater. And the wonderful folks at the top, we love them, but they have the most money and they have the most pull, and they can literally keep you from doing shows and or take them away from you and or allow you to never do them just because they have them on their back burner. They may not even be doing them. Yeah, that is a challenge. I've put together entire seasons and then not gotten the perfect fit and then had to go back and change other, it's kind of crazy. Is this where you thought you would be, where young Carole, the actress, on stage? Did you kind of think that you'd end up in Sarasota like your grandparents? And
yes, I knew I would end up in Sarasota. My daughter moved here. She's an attorney. She graduated law school, and the next day she packed her bags and moved here. And she said, "Mom, I'm not going to wait till I retire to live where I want to live." And she moved into that house that had been my parents' house.
So, wow. And so you have family, you have a huge theater family, we have a lot of things to be grateful for. And so what do you think has been the hardest thing for you to overcome? What's been
Can I answer another question first?
Of course.
You asked a few minutes ago about what's in store.
Oh yeah.
I had a brainstorm this morning.
Okay. An epiphany. Yes.
We do 2 different small outreach programs. We do a program called Jewish Journeys, where we send short plays to condo associations and retirement homes and synagogues. Okay. And we also have another program called Newish Jewish Plays.
Newish Jewish.
And that we do that in the summer, plays that we're looking at that we've gotten from playwrights. So the Jewish Journeys are short plays that we send out to the community. And I was talking to one of our because I have a director who runs for each play. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to one of the directors this morning, and we thought, well, because I'm looking for next season, we've got a 3-day in October that I need to fill, a 3-day weekend. I thought, well, why don't we combine the three of the short plays, because that'll be a 2-hour, and then I have a title for it. We've got short shorts.
We've got short shorts. Well, you know what? You've got to always reinvent yourself. I mean, I think that's the you've got to go with the flow. You've got to see how things change. Is there a play out there that is on your wish list, your dream list? This is something I've always wanted to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you. What would that be?
Lost in Yonkers was.
Wow.
Since the first time I saw it.
Wow.
The most satisfying, important, I think, successful play I ever directed was Diary of Anne Frank. Mm-hmm. That was the first play I directed. It was terrible. I was 20 years old. I knew nothing. I had no concept of how to do that.
Yeah.
I did it before I moved down here, and it won awards, and it was really. I think I did a brilliant production of it. My staging of it was, I had big Muslim drops on stage right and stage left, and I got a film student from Columbia College in Chicago to archive films for me. photos. And so we shot when the audience came up. Otto Frank was an avid photographer. There are photos of the girls growing up all the way to the point where they went into the attic. I was in London and I found a book of his photos and I brought that back. It wasn't a book that was available here. So we did, when the audience came in, they saw photos of the girls growing up. And then the last thing they saw was a shot of the empty annex. And then the lights came up and it was the empty annex. And it was, but I can't do it here. We don't have that stage that we're working on right now, which is not a stage that can accommodate what that play needs.
Yeah, so you can't. It's hard to feel claustrophobic in the round. Yeah.
So and having different rooms and levels, and we can't. So that's a sadness. But I have now pretty much. I mean, the last thing on the list was Lost in Yonkers, and I just did it. So yay!
Yeah, so good for you. We appreciate the work that people don't realize, the iceberg effect of that. So much of the work that we do is that no one ever knows. It just goes. It goes. They remember certain things. It's usually not all the work that we did. So thank you for all the work that you do. Sarasota Jewish Theatre, I'm sure, has a website, right?
www.sarasotajewishtheatre, theatre.org.
Mm-hmm.
.com works also.
Okay.
Why the different spelling? Because people don't know. Theater companies, first of all, it's an English thing, which one of our people did, but THEATRE is a theater company name.
Right.
But if you're going to go to the theater, the generic theater, it's ER.
It's an ER. Yes. Thank you for fixing that for our amazing guests who are getting their education in theater from a pro and from someone who's devoted her entire life to changing people's lives, which is what we do. Thank you so much for your time with me, Carole. I appreciate it. Like most times, we could keep on talking for another couple of hours, but our time is up. But thank you and congratulations on 5 years. And then here's to that exciting 6th year.
6 years with short shorts.
Right? We wear short shorts. Thank you, Carole. Appreciate you so much.
Jeff, thank you, Reed. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Jeffrey Ken as a part of Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. We love listening to our arts practitioners, and we want you to listen as well. So make sure you join us at sarasotapodcast.com, and we'll see you at the next interview.